Accompanied by the spreading effect of the spirit conduction formation, Lin Dong's heavenly soul expanded at an unimaginable speed, covering the corners of the Great Thousand Worlds. It first crossed the Ice Spirit Great Domain, then the Wandering Realm, followed by the Fire Spirit Clan, the Great Thousand Continent, and wherever it passed, everything was clearly reflected in Lin Dong's mind. This effect was terrifying because a lower Heavenly Supreme Expert's heavenly soul can only cover a few 100,000 miles, and even a perfected Heavenly Supreme's range is just tens of millions of miles. But now, Lin Dong could directly peer into the world billions of miles away, even hundreds of billions of miles away. This was a remote island located billions of miles from the Ice Spirit Continent. The island was covered with numerous massive ravines, filled with seawater, and ancient markings indicated that everything here had been formed a long time ago. In ancient times, a world-shattering battle must have occurred here. At this moment, Lin Dong's heavenly soul detection passed through this area. Everything here became crystal clear to him. He saw that beneath the surrounding sea of this desolate island were countless large land fragments. This clearly indicated that this area had once been a continent, and the desolate island was a fragment left from that continent. What powerful beings had fought here, causing an entire continent to sink? With this doubt in his mind, Lin Dong's heavenly soul detection directly penetrated into the seabed. He saw a massive door made of Xun'er iron, behind which was a void world. Clang! Just as Lin Dong's heavenly soul entered the void world, the sound of chains clanking echoed through the space. Lin Dong, undeterred, charged forward again. He soon saw the source of the sound. A colossal black stone coffin nearly 1,000 feet long, with a black skeletal figure bound to it. The skeleton's form was normal, but the blackness was repulsive to Lin Dong, clearly tainted by the evil energy of an outer-worldly evil race. Lin Dong's heavenly soul entered the area, seemingly undisturbed. After circling around, he concluded that this must be a relic of the world-ending war. The owner of the skeleton had likely reached the heavenly supreme level in life. However, Lin Dong was unsure what terrifying existence was sealed within the black coffin. He speculated it might be an evil demon of the outer world, possibly a heavenly monarch-level being. To verify this, Lin Dong prepared to send his heavenly soul further into the black coffin, but the result was unexpected. No matter how much he expanded his heavenly soul, he couldn't enter the coffin. Clearly, the black coffin was no ordinary object, and it might even be a heavenly artifact. Heavenly artifacts are supreme treasures for which even heavenly supreme experts would fight. After this futile attempt, Lin Dong immediately gave up on further investigation. However, he committed the location of this place in the Great Thousand World to memory. Just then, Lin Dong's heavenly soul, which was constantly expanding, discovered another strange location. It was a desert in the northwest of the Great Thousand World, where the twisted space triggered terrifying sandstorms. When Lin Dong's heavenly soul entered the heart of the sandstorm, he found space cracks inside, through which he could see majestic palaces standing. However, these palaces were now filled with deathly silence. Yet, Lin Dong noticed a core hall where a massive torrent was wildly howling. This torrent was composed entirely of supreme spiritual liquid, with nearly 20 billion units in total. But now, this core hall seemed to be sealed with some kind of formation, preventing any supreme spiritual liquid from escaping. A mysterious relic holding 20 billion units of supreme spiritual liquid was certainly a place that would ignite fierce competition among many perfected Earth Supreme experts. As before, Lin Dong silently marked the location in his mind. Next, Lin Dong's heavenly soul arrived in the eastern part of the Great Thousand World, where a vibrant mountain range existed. However, the vitality here was not of natural origin but was caused by something else. At the center of the mountain range, there was a massive skeletal figure nearly 100,000 feet tall. From the shape of the bones, it appeared to be a tiger-like divine beast. As Lin Dong approached, the overwhelming aura confirmed that this was no ordinary divine beast. It was none other than the divine tiger of the myriad spirit divine clan, second only to the true dragon and true phoenix among the divine beasts. The divine tiger clan, along with the heavenly Kylan clan, the Chaos Clan, the True Dragon Clan, and the True Phoenix Clan, formed the 5 dominant clans of the Myriad Spirit Divine Clan. Now, what Lin Dong saw here was a divine tiger. From the residual pressure, it was clear that the tiger's power in life was probably no less than that of a higher heavenly supreme. Lin Dong's heavenly soul awareness constantly drifted around the bones of the divine tiger, and soon he discovered a hidden space. Within it, there was a lake formed by concentrated divine blood. Upon seeing this divine tiger's blood lake, Lin Dong immediately marked the location, knowing that someone desperately needed this blood. That person was Yin. If Yin could come here in the future and obtain the divine tiger's blood, his bloodline would undergo a complete transformation. At that point, relying solely on his physical strength, Yin would have no fear of a heavenly supreme expert. After recording the location of the skeletal remains, Lin Dong's heart surged with excitement. In just an hour, he had already found 3 high-level ancient ruins in the Great Thousand World through his endless heavenly soul scan. If such a discovery were to be announced, it would undoubtedly shake the heavens and the earth. Lin Dong now felt like a deity peering into everything within the Great Thousand World. His all-encompassing scanning ability could even make a perfected heavenly supreme want to vomit blood. In this situation, Lin Dong immediately decided on his course of action for the next few months. That was to take advantage of the current coverage of his heavenly soul awareness over the entire Great Thousand World, to search for ancient ruins hidden in various places and record their locations. After all, aside from protecting Ice Huan's divine soul, there was nothing else he needed to do. Over the next few days, Lin Dong used his heavenly soul awareness, which covered the entire Great Thousand World, to explore the heavens and earth. This was something other experts could never even imagine, but Lin Dong was actually doing it. First, Lin Dong confirmed that the range he could scan wasn't the entire Great Thousand World. He clearly saw several areas in his scan that resembled black holes, places where detection was impossible. These areas were the territories of the Primordial Divine Clan and the Myriad Spirit Divine Clan, as well as the domains of hidden experts whose power far exceeded Lin Dong's. Clearly, these regions had defenses against heavenly soul detection. It was through these undetectable black holes that Lin Dong truly realized the terrifying power hidden in the Great Thousand World. To block his detection, a being would need to be at least close to or above the level of a perfected heavenly supreme. And now, it seemed there were nearly 20 such regions. The hidden powers deep within the Great Thousand World were truly terrifying. However, Lin Dong chose to ignore these undetectable areas and continued his meticulous search in the regions he could scan. Although finding many ancient ruins and hidden treasures thrilled him, he never forgot what he truly needed to do. After pouring 50 million supreme spiritual liquid into the spirit conduction formation every day, Lin Dong spent the rest of his time searching for ruins. And so, time continued to pass. About 3 months later, Lin Dong finally stopped his search for the ancient ruins within the Great Thousand World. He no longer found ruins as frequently as before. At his current pace, it would take several days to uncover even a single hidden ruin. But Lin Dong didn't mind, for in these 3 months, his discoveries were enough to fill an encyclopedia of ruins. Lin Dong had discovered over 2,600 ancient ruins in total. Among them, 49 could be confirmed as remnants of heavenly supreme experts who had fallen. More than 500 belonged to Earth's supreme experts. Over 1,700 were supreme spiritual hiding places, and over 300 were unknown ruins. There was no need for Lin Dong to continue searching for ancient ruins, for the 2,600 ruins he had already found were more than enough to keep him busy. When he returned to the martial realm, he could freely choose which ruins to explore and send people to investigate them. Just as Lin Dong was reaping the rewards of his ruin exploration, a faint yet familiar fluctuation of spiritual energy appeared in his heavenly soul awareness. This fluctuation, originally located billions of miles away, seemed to have been drawn in, now coming toward him as if guided by an invisible pull. Noticing the approaching fluctuation, Lin Dong's heart stirred once more. The energy fluctuation was identical to the one from Ice Huan's soul and divine soul. In the vast mountains covered in thick white snow, a towering peak, with its summit erased, stood tall. Above the flat mountain peak, a gigantic golden light shield covered it, within which was the spirit conduction formation in operation. At the center of the formation, two figures sat cross-legged, facing each other, and this had been the case for the past 4 months. 4 months ago, after Lin Dong completed the arrangement and activation of the spirit conduction formation, Ice Firmament and the First Elder naturally did not stay there waiting for Lin Dong and Bing Huan to complete the spirit conduction task. After all, they had their own matters to attend to, such as the mess left behind by Lin Dong's disruption over 4 months ago. As the one responsible, Ice Firmament naturally had to deal with it. Moreover, all the supreme spiritual liquid from the Ice Spirit Clan had been poured into the spirit conduction formation, which had caused some internal crises for the Ice Spirit Clan. After all, large clans like the Ice Spirit Clan required vast resources to operate, and supreme spiritual liquid was a core part of those resources. To stabilize the Ice Spirit Clan, Ice Firmament issued an announcement. However, the announcement did not mention Lin Dong or the spirit conduction formation. Instead, it stated that the First Elder had entered seclusion, preparing to use the stockpile of 60 billion supreme spiritual liquid to break through to the heavenly supreme level. Once Ice Firmament's announcement spread, the entire Ice Spirit Clan quickly settled down, with many even rejoicing, because if what the Elder said was true, the Ice Spirit Clan might soon have a new heavenly supreme expert. This was a moment the millions of descendants of the Ice Spirit Clan had been waiting for over 1,000 years. However, Ice Firmament's announcement could not deceive the more powerful members of the Ice Spirit Clan, such as the 3 Ice Emperors. As experts at the peak of Earth Supreme, they knew that the barrier between Earth Supreme and Heavenly Supreme was not just about spiritual energy. More importantly, it was about the transformation of the Divine Soul into the Heavenly Soul. But converting the Divine Soul into the Heavenly Soul was far beyond what supreme spiritual liquid could achieve. 60 billion supreme spiritual liquid could provide power comparable to a lower Heavenly Supreme or even an upper Heavenly Supreme, but it could not complete the transformation of the Divine Soul itself. Even using 600 billion or 6 trillion supreme spiritual liquid would not achieve this. Therefore, those at the peak of Earth Supreme could never rely on supreme spiritual liquid to break through to the Heavenly Supreme level. So, where exactly was the 60 billion supreme spiritual liquid used? 1 month after the activation of the spirit conduction formation, the 3 Ice Emperors approached the First Elder. As they had expected, the First Elder had not entered seclusion. Eventually, the First Elder revealed everything about the spirit conduction formation to the 3 Ice Emperors. Afterward, despite their doubts about the absurdity of the situation, the 3 Ice Emperors could only harbor their dissatisfaction in their hearts, thanks to Ice Firmament's involvement. While the 3 Ice Emperors were helpless and the entire Ice Spirit Clan had great expectations, a major upheaval began in the Wandering Realm, hundreds of millions of miles away from the Ice Spirit Great Domain. The upheaval was linked to a force that had only been established 7 or 8 years ago, the Martial Realm. At that moment, within the inner domain of Ice Spirit Continent, the spirit conduction formation continued to operate slowly. Lin Dong, inside it, had already opened his eyes. His heavenly soul still protected Bing Huan's divine soul, and after 4 months of spirit conduction, Bing Huan's divine soul had become more complete. However, the results were not as rich as Lin Dong had anticipated. During this time, only 2 fragments of reincarnation had been drawn from across the great 1,000 worlds by Bing Huan's divine soul as the conduit. Together, these 2 fragments amounted to less than 1/5 of Bing Huan's original soul. Lin Dong quickly understood the reason and felt a bit fortunate. He knew that because these reincarnation fragments were too small, they had never reached the threshold for reincarnation and had continued to drift between the great 1,000 worlds. If every fragment had been as large as Bing Huan's original, then more than 1 Bing Huan would have appeared, perhaps 2, 3, or even more. Just imagining that scenario, Lin Dong didn't even know how to handle it. The activation of the spirit conduction formation had also come at a cost to Bing Huan. Although the spirit seal she took from the ice god steel had already merged with her divine soul, it was still being consumed. However, if it was Lin Dong's own gains, there was no doubt that they were enormous. After all, the heavenly soul detection, which spread due to the resonance of the spirit conduction formation, had allowed him to directly locate many ancient ruins, which were treasures beyond measure. However, Lin Dong only spent 3 months searching for the ancient relics of the Great Thousand Worlds, and in the final 4th month, Lin Dong focused his attention on understanding the situation of the Wandering Realm. This was because his next goal was to unify the Wandering Realm, so the most important thing for Lin Dong was how many powerful individuals were hidden in the realm, especially the elder Hua Mu, who had once crossed paths with him and was associated with the Ice Spirit Heavenly Supreme. Elder Hua Mu was Lin Dong's greatest opponent and enemy in the Wandering Realm. Today marked the 128th day since the activation of the Spirit Conduction Formation. Lin Dong was sitting cross-legged at the center of the formation's eye. He glanced at Bing Huan before looking at the now-empty cosmic bag in his hand. After more than 4 months of using the Spirit Conduction Formation, not only had the 60 billion supreme spiritual liquid of the Ice Spirit Clan been completely consumed, but even the 4 billion supreme spiritual liquid he had brought with him had been used up. In other words, the Spirit Conduction Formation could no longer be maintained. Sigh. Lin Dong sighed helplessly. He had originally thought he could attract some more pieces of the reincarnation fragments here, but after the 2 pieces, it had been over 2 months without the appearance of a third one. Perhaps some of the reincarnation fragments were still on their way, or maybe that was all the fragments scattered across the Great Thousand Worlds. Buzz. Without the support of the supreme spiritual liquid, less than 2 hours later, signs that the Spirit Conduction Formation was about to stop operating began to appear. Seeing this, Lin Dong immediately called out to Bing Huan's divine soul using his heavenly soul, trying to draw it back into her body. However, the situation that followed made Lin Dong furrow his brow. No matter how much he called out to Bing Huan, she didn't respond at all. Seeing this, Lin Dong immediately used his heavenly soul power to probe Bing Huan's divine soul, but the result was a calm and stable state, meaning that Bing Huan's divine soul seemed to be perfectly fine. Swish. Swish. Just then, several whooshing sounds cut through the air from the distant sky. Lin Dong turned his head upon hearing them and saw several figures descending from the sky to the outer perimeter of the Spirit Conduction Formation. Among those who appeared were Bing Tsangqiong and the First Elder, but there was also one more person, a stunning woman with an enchanting figure, who was none other than Ling Qingzhu, coming from the martial realm. Lin Dong was not surprised by Ling Qingzhu's arrival, as he knew why she had come. It looks like all the supreme spiritual liquid has been exhausted. Upon reaching the peak, Bing Tsangqiong looked at the fading glow of the light barrier and then turned to Ling Qingzhu, saying, "Lin Dong is here. You can talk to him about that matter yourself?" "Okay." Ling Qingzhu nodded and cast her beautiful gaze toward the inside of the light barrier. Buzz. As Ling Qingzhu focused her gaze on the light barrier, the Spirit Conduction Formation, due to the exhaustion of spiritual energy, gradually ceased to operate. The golden light barrier that enveloped the mountain slowly dissipated, and even the spiritual formation patterns drawn with spirit seals gradually faded away. At the same time, Lin Dong felt his heavenly soul detection, which had once covered the entire Great Thousand Worlds, severed and shrink back, ultimately returning to its previous range of only 1,000,000 miles. Lin Dong, what have you gained over these 4 months? After the Spirit Conduction Formation faded away, Bing Tsangqiong, standing at the edge of the mountain peak, was the first to speak to Lin Dong. "My gains weren't as much as I expected. I only managed to collect 2 complete pieces of fragments," Lin Dong replied with a shake of his head. He then looked once again at Bing Huan in front of him. Now that the Spirit Conduction Formation had lost its effect, her divine soul was still outside her body, and Lin Dong was even more puzzled as to why Bing Huan hadn't responded to any of his calls. Bing Huan's divine soul is just in a state of slumber. There's no need to worry. The First Elder immediately noticed Lin Dong's confusion and concern and directly told him, "You should return Bing Huan's divine soul to her body first." Slumber? For how long? Lin Dong furrowed his brow again upon hearing this. If this was a side effect of the Spirit Conduction Formation, why hadn't the First Elder mentioned it 4 months ago? As he spoke, Lin Dong cautiously used his heavenly soul power and spiritual energy to return Bing Huan's divine soul to her body. This was still a very dangerous task, But Lin Dong had no choice but to follow the First Elder's instructions. After all, Bing Huan is only at the heaven-merging stage. Her strength and cultivation are too weak. Several months of her divine soul being external is like overexerting physical strength. However, it's not a major problem. She just needs to rest for a while, the First Elder explained. Of course, the exhaustion of divine soul power is different from physical exhaustion. Half a year or a year. Lin Dong muttered softly upon hearing the words. After spending several minutes placing Bing Huan's divine soul back into her body, Lin Dong slowly stood up and stretched lazily. Then, he saw Ling Qingzhu walking toward him. Something has come up in the martial realm. You may need to handle it yourself now, Ling Qingzhu said as she reached Lin Dong's side. I understand. Lin Dong nodded and smiled at her. You understand? Ling Qingzhu was slightly surprised. After all, she knew that Lin Dong had been staying with the Ice Spirit clan for the past 4 months, and the changes occurring in the Wandering Realm, billions of miles away, had only started 3 months ago. Even a heavenly supreme expert like Lin Dong couldn't have known about it from such a great distance. It must be Elder Hua Mu who came looking for you. Yin and the others have already been defeated, Lin Dong said to Ling Qingzhu. You know? Not only Ling Qingzhu, but even Bing Sangqiong and the First Elder were shocked. They hadn't expected Lin Dong to really know what was happening in the Wandering Realm. Lin Dong, however, just smiled. After all, with the heavenly soul consciousness that covered the entire Great Thousand World, how could the events in the Wandering Realm escape his detection? Let's go. We need to return to the martial realm. I want to see what this Elder Hua Mu is up to, Lin Dong said, bending down to pick up the sleeping Bing Huan. With a wave of his hand, a massive spatial rift was torn open in the air nearby, leading directly to the martial realm. Ling Qingzhu nodded. Though she didn't know how Lin Dong had learned of the events happening billions of miles away, the more important matter now was dealing with Elder Hua Mu, who had come to the martial realm. Senior Bing Sangqiang, consider this as me owing the Ice Spirit clan another favor. As for the 60 billion supreme spiritual liquid, I will return it to the Ice Spirit clan within a year, Lin Dong said to Bing Sangqiang, who stood not far away, as he stepped into the spatial rift with Bing Huan and Ling Qingzhu. Stop worrying about that supreme spiritual liquid. It's as if the Ice Spirit clan will be wiped out if they lose 60 billion of it, Bing Sangqiang said with a faint smile. However, he didn't take Lin Dong seriously. While it was possible that Lin Dong could gather the 60 billion supreme spiritual liquid, it was definitely impossible to do so within a year, unless the heavens dropped 60 billion on him. After the spatial rift closed behind them, Lin Dong, Bing Huan, and Ling Qingzhu moved at the fastest speed toward the Wandering Realm, which was billions of miles away. The Wandering Realm, known as one of the more chaotic regions in the Great Thousand World, was a place that countless strong cultivators found troublesome. This region was filled with battlefields between sects, and almost every day, a new war would break out. While many forces were wiped out in the wars, new ones constantly rose up like mushrooms after the rain. Forces that could stand strong in the Wandering Realm for 100 years were considered top tier. Those that could remain standing for 1,000 years were true elite powers. At the very top were the hegemonic forces, those that stood in the Wandering Realm with such dominance that no one dared challenge them. There had once been 3 hegemonic forces in the Wandering Realm: the Black Spirit Clan, the Myriad Seas Domain, and the Heavenly Demon Divine Palace, collectively known as the Three Masters. However, the Black Spirit Clan had long been removed from the list. As the first hegemonic power in the Wandering Realm, the Black Spirit Clan had fallen into decline and was no longer strong enough to maintain its position. The invasion of 5,000 supreme experts into the Black Spirit Clan's territory was a clear sign of this. With the fall of the Black Spirit Clan, another giant force had risen to take its place. A new power established less than 10 years ago, Martial Realm. Over a decade ago, a young man who had broken through the shackles of a lower world, accompanied by 2 women, arrived in the Great Thousand World. While his arrival wasn't in the Wandering Realm, within less than 2 years, this young man had started building his own power in the chaotic regions of the Wandering Realm with unbelievable speed and skill. Back then, no one paid much attention to him. No one could have anticipated that, In just 8 short years, the young man, known as martial ancestor Lin Dong, would expand his martial realm to a size that even the 9 great lords feared. The 9 great lords were the powers in the wandering realm, just below the hegemonic forces. They were the Titan Heavenly Domain, the Stellar Radiance Pavilion, the Sun God Temple, the 9 God Domain, the Shimming Demon Clan, the Heavenly Pill Manor, Flame Valley, the Ancient Spirit Alliance, and the Primordial Gate. The Sun God Temple, the Stellar Radiance Pavilion, and the Titan Heavenly Domain were once engaged in repeated battles with the martial realm. However, since they were repelled by the martial realm 2 years ago, their presence has completely vanished from the scene. From then on, no one dared to challenge the martial realm, and even forces that had been established for less than a decade had surpassed those that had stood for a century, or even a millennium. The martial realm is the new overlord of the wandering realm, with almost no opposition. This was confirmed beyond a doubt 4 months ago, when an incident occurred that cemented its position. In this incident, the strongest of the martial realm, martial ancestor Lin Dong, single-handedly stormed into the Ice Spirit clan, defeating their 3 Ice Emperors and the clan leader. Such an achievement not only solidified the martial realm's status as the overlord of the wandering realm, but also proved it to be the strongest overlord in the entire region. There was no doubt left, as no news hinted at the presence of heavenly supreme experts in the other 2 dominant forces. This was immediately confirmed by another individual after Lin Dong's chaos in the Ice Spirit clan. That individual was known as Elder Hua Mu. In the eastern part of the wandering realm, beyond the 4 profound continents, lies a sea domain. This is the chaotic demon sea. The scene unfolding here is on a scale so terrifying that it has never been seen since the ancient world-ending war. Within this vast sea, spanning millions of miles, a nearly uncountable number of powerful beings have gathered. Nearly all of them are above the 3rd difficulty level, totaling over millions, and there are even tens of thousands of Supreme Realm experts among them. Notably, there are 3 to 4 dozen Earth Supreme experts present. Such a gathering of power is unimaginable for the martial realm alone, nor could the other 2 dominant forces summon such an array. The strongmen here represent nearly 90% of the entire wandering realm. Since the ancient world-ending war, there has never been such a concentration of strength in one place, and this event is what has drawn them all together. Someone is challenging the martial realm's new overlord. More precisely, the challenge is directed at martial ancestor Lin Dong. The forces assembled at the chaotic demon sea are holding their breath, watching the confrontation between 2 opposing groups of powerful beings on the surface of the sea. Almost all the Earth Supreme experts in the wandering realm are here. Doesn't the martial realm's lineup seem a bit lacking? What do you mean lacking? With the reinforcements from the Black Spirit clan, the martial realm now has 9 Earth Supreme experts. If you had come earlier, you might have seen the Yin King battle against the ancestor of the Myriad Seas and the 2 demonic saints from the Heavenly Demon Divine Palace. Ancestor of the Myriad Seas? Isn't he already nearing the Heavenly Supreme level? And the 2 demonic saints from the Heavenly Demon Divine Palace, aren't they the Palace Master and the Heavenly Demon Supreme who's been hiding for years? Their strength is already at the peak of the Earth Supreme, and together they are nearly unbeatable under the Heavenly Supreme. So, what was the result of the battle? The result was quite interesting. Yin King didn't fall behind in his battle with these 3 powerful figures. Of course, he didn't manage to defeat them either, so it ended in a stalemate. No way. Could it be that Yin King has reached the Heavenly Supreme level? It's already hard to believe that the martial realm has a martial ancestor who can storm the Ice Spirit clan. Now there's a second Heavenly Supreme. The martial realm already has enough strength to unify the wandering realm. Unify the wandering realm? That's still too early. You don't know. Yin King was recently defeated. Was it by Elder Hua Mu? Who is this person really? I've heard he's an ancient monster who has lived since the ancient times. In just a few months, he has completely turned the wandering realm upside down, and now he's defeated Yin King. Could he be a Heavenly Supreme? He must be a Heavenly Supreme, because Yin King was subdued in just 3 moves. However, it seems that Elder Hua Mu's true target is Martial Ancestor, so he didn't kill Yin King. The Wandering Realm is about to undergo a great change. Heh. I suspect that once Martial Ancestor shows up, the next battle will be one to determine who will rule the entire Wandering Realm. Really looking forward to it. Martial Ancestor Lin Dong can take on the Ice Spirit clan by himself, while Elder Hua Mu can single-handedly make all the forces in the Wandering Realm submit. The powerful individuals gathered around the chaotic demon sea began to engage in heated discussions. At the same time, all eyes were fixed on the sky not far ahead, where two opposing sides were locked in a tense standoff. Despite the calm appearance, this peace had been hard-earned by a woman, the first Realm Master of the Martial Realm, Ling Qingzhu. At this moment, in the sky near the four profound continents, dozens of figures hovered in the air. Among them, the one standing at the forefront was a massive figure, as powerful as a tiger. Although his clothes were somewhat disheveled, his fearsome presence, reminiscent of a dragon or tiger, remained unchanged. He was none other than the Flame King of the Martial Realm, Lin Yan. Beside him stood the Sky Marten King, Lin Diao, and He Luo King, who had come from the Black Spirit clan. With these three leading the charge, behind them were the Fanling Elder and the Fan Yunzi Elder of the Martial Realm, both of whom had attained the strength of Upper Earth Supreme. In addition, a powerful Earth Supreme from 3 months ago had joined the Martial Realm, bringing the total number of Earth Supreme experts in the Martial Realm to over 5. Meanwhile, aside from He Luo King, the Black Spirit clan's leader and 3 other Earth Supreme elders had also arrived, making up nearly 10 Earth Supreme experts in total within the Martial Realm. However, when compared to the opposing side, their strength was significantly lacking. The enemy had gathered Earth Supreme experts not only from the Myriad Seas domain and the Heavenly Demon Divine Palace, but even the lower 9 masters had been forced to unite. Excluding the ancestor of the Myriad Seas, a super expert nearing the Heavenly Supreme level, the other side had nearly 30 Earth Supreme experts. In the past, the factions in the Wandering Realm had been at odds with one another. Even when several powerful factions came together, it was due to mutual interests. However, this time, all these forces had no interests in common. They were all kidnapped to this place. Elder Huamu was the most terrifying kidnapper in the history of the Wandering Realm. At that moment, Elder Huamu was leisurely lying on a golden long bench in midair. Having grown bored of waiting, he had even fallen asleep on the bench. Upon seeing this, Lin Yin and the others became tense and angry. Clearly, Elder Huamu had not taken them seriously. Second brother, why hasn't Big Sister returned yet? Lin Yin roughly calculated the time and asked the Sky Marten King beside him. Let's wait a little longer. Elder Huamu is probably a man of his word. He promised to wait for 2 days, and there's still half an hour left, Lin Diao replied. He knew that if it weren't for Ling Qingzhu making the 2-day promise with Elder Huamu 2 days ago, the entire Martial Realm would probably have been wiped off the map by now. Elder Huamu, this guy has existed since the world-ending war. Back then, he was repeatedly defeated by the Sacred Drum Heavenly Sovereign. After that, he went into seclusion, and I never expected he was still here in the Wandering Realm, He Luo King said. The Sacred Drum Heavenly Sovereign has fallen, and now this guy has gone after his disciple. If the Sacred Drum Heavenly Sovereign knew about this, I wonder if he would have saved this man's life back then. Isn't he a battle formation master as well? He fought with Lin Yin 2 days ago, but didn't even use his battle intent. He really knows how to assess his opponents, Lin Diao said, gritting his teeth as he looked at Elder Huamu, who was napping in midair. Lin Yan's expression darkened. He was also a disciple of the Sacred Drum Heavenly Sovereign and had inherited a more complete legacy than his elder brother. However, in the end, he had only managed to last 3 rounds against Elder Huamu. It seemed that only Lin Dong in the Martial Realm could handle Elder Huamu now. While Lin Yin and the others were talking, the experts from the Myriad Seas domain, Heavenly Demon Divine Palace, Sun God Temple, and other forces on the opposite side were discussing as well. Heh, I think the Martial Ancestor is too scared to come out, sneered the Palace Master of the Sun God Temple. Very likely. That Ling Qingzhu kept saying the Martial Ancestor was with the Ice Spirit clan. She was clearly toying with us. After the Martial Ancestor caused so much chaos in the Ice Spirit clan, How could they possibly allow him to stay within their clan? If he really was in the Ice Spirit clan, he might have been killed by now, mocked the domain lord of the Titan, heavenly domain. Everyone, please be quiet. There's only half an hour left. We'll see the results soon. Whether the martial ancestor will appear or not will be revealed in due time, came a low, calm voice from the side. It was an old man dressed in blue robes with a white beard. Upon hearing his voice, the palace master of the Sun God Temple and the domain lord of the Titan, heavenly domain immediately fell silent. This man was the strongest person present, second only to Elder Hua Mu. It was the ancestor of the Myriad Seas. In fact, the ancestor of the Myriad Seas had already acknowledged the martial realm as the strongest faction. In the previous battle 2 days ago, Lin Yen, the Flame King of the martial realm, had fought him effortlessly while simultaneously dealing with the 2 demonic saints of the heavenly demon divine palace. If Lin Yen, the Flame King of the martial realm, had such strength, how terrifying must the martial ancestor be? As time passed slowly, the atmosphere above the chaotic demon sea grew increasingly heavy. The half hour that had passed was gradually running out, yet, in the final minute, the highly anticipated martial ancestor still had not appeared, which made the hearts of the martial realm experts uneasy. Finally, the half hour came to an end. Under everyone's watchful gaze, a faint voice drifted from the dozing Elder Hua Mu's lips. His aged eyes, as if capable of seeing through all things in the world, finally opened. With his eyes now open, Elder Hua Mu turned his gaze toward the opposite side, where Yin and his group still hovered in midair. So it was all a joke? Martial ancestor dares to show up? Is he teasing me? The palace master of the Sun God Temple sneered as the half hour passed without any sign of martial ancestor. However, before the palace master of the Sun God Temple's words even fully left his mouth, a terrifyingly powerful palm shot through space and landed squarely on his face. The moment that overwhelming force exploded across the Sun God Temple master's face, his body and consciousness were sent flying like a cannonball. He crashed into the vast sea below, creating a massive rift nearly 100,000 miles long. Soon after, the Sun God Temple master's aura rapidly faded, clearly gravely wounded. The one who struck him down with that single slap was none other than Elder Hua Mu. You talk too much. After sending the Sun God Temple master flying, Elder Hua Mu withdrew his hand. The surrounding onlookers twitched in fear, glancing nervously at him, worried that they might be the next ones to receive such a treatment. As Elder Hua Mu withdrew his hand, his gaze turned toward the horizon. His eyes narrowed slightly, and a deep voice soon followed. Well, after waiting for 2 days, he finally shows up. Upon hearing Elder Hua Mu's words, the ancestor of the Myriad Seas and other powerful figures immediately shifted their gaze to where Hua Mu was looking. Yin and his group also followed suit. Under the watchful eyes of all the experts, a massive spatial rift began to tear open above the chaotic demon sea. In that instant, the atmosphere of the entire world seemed to explode. The giant rift, vibrating with the tremors of the world, stretched across the chaotic demon sea. As millions of eyes fixed upon it, 2 figures slowly emerged from within the rift. One was a young man and the other, a woman. The young man was dressed in simple black clothing, his face filled with determination. He held a girl, around 10 years old, in his arms. The woman beside him was extraordinarily beautiful, her white robes flowing gently in the wind, capturing the hearts of many men nearby. Is that the martial ancestor, Lin Dong? He looks so young, perhaps in his 30s? Impossible. How could he be just in his 30s? This martial ancestor was capable of wreaking havoc on the Ice Spirit clan. His power must have already reached the heavenly supreme level. There's no way someone could attain such strength in their 30s. I think he must be over 500 years old. True. But martial ancestor Lin Dong really has achieved great things now. The woman, Ling Qingzhu, is so beautiful. Even in the Great Thousand Worlds, she would be a top-tier beauty. It's truly the hero and the beauty. Could the girl in martial ancestor's arms be their daughter? What a perfect family to envy. Now that martial ancestor has finally appeared, it's time to see who is stronger, the martial ancestor facing the Ice Spirit Clan, or Elder Hua Mu, who stands against the many forces of the Wandering Realm? Perhaps the answer will be revealed soon. As the two figures slowly walked out of the spatial rift, the entire world erupted in excited murmurs. The two figures, clearly Lin Dong and Ling Qingzhu, had arrived directly from the Ice Spirit Clan, and in Lin Dong's arms was the young Ice Huan. As Lin Dong appeared, the martial realm experts immediately broke into wild cheers. Just moments before, they were worried that if Lin Dong arrived too late, Elder Hua Mu would begin his assault on the martial realm. But now that Lin Dong had arrived in time, they no longer cared about the surrounding discussions. Haha, martial ancestor Lin Dong, you finally showed up. You really made me wait so long. At this moment, behind Elder Hua Mu, the ancestor of the myriad seas, along with the two demon saints and numerous experts from the Wandering Realm, all looked at Lin Dong with complex expressions. Elder Hua Mu had gathered them here for one purpose: to meet Lin Dong, the young man who had become the ruler of the Wandering Realm in less than 10 years, having reached the martial realm. At this moment, Lin Dong could either be their enemy or their lifeline. In the distant sky, Lin Dong heard Elder Hua Mu's excited laughter and couldn't help but smile. Though they hadn't yet met face to face, Lin Dong could already feel the eager energy boiling within Elder Hua Mu. However, Lin Dong did not immediately respond to Elder Hua Mu. Instead, he moved with Ling Qingzhu and Bing Huan directly in front of Yin and the others. Lin Dong handed Bing Huan to Ling Qingzhu beside him. "Big brother, you've finally come," Yin and the others said excitedly when they saw Lin Dong's return. "It's good that you're all fine." After handing the unconscious Bing Huan to Ling Qingzhu, Lin Dong turned to Yin and the others, saying, "I'll take care of what comes next." I've already clashed with Elder Hua Mu. "Big brother, only you can deal with this old man now," Yin said. He knew that Ling Qingzhu must have already informed Lin Dong about the situation here, but he still sighed helplessly. "If only I were stronger, we wouldn't have to trouble you to handle all of this." Don't worry. As your big brother, I won't leave you behind. After this is over, the three of us will travel around the Great Thousand Worlds and pick up some good things along the way," Lin Dong replied with a smile. He then turned and cupped his hands toward He Luo King and the Black Spirit Clan experts. "Thank you, Black Spirit Clan, for your support." Martial ancestor, there's no need to be so polite. The Black Spirit Clan is now allied with the martial realm. It's only right to face the enemy together, He Luo King responded, cupping his hands in return and smiling faintly. "Realm Master, Elder Hua Mu is a heavenly supreme expert. I've never heard of anyone like him in the Wandering Realm. Be cautious," some martial realm experts behind Lin Dong warned. Lin Dong smiled again upon hearing this. He knew more about Elder Hua Mu than anyone else in the field, thanks to the Ice Spirit Sovereign and his earlier reconnaissance. He waved at Yin and the others to step back. Then, Lin Dong turned and looked back at Elder Hua Mu. Elder Hua Mu had regarded the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign as his lifelong opponent thousands of years ago, and now Lin Dong was the successor of the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign. Lin Dong knew that this battle was unavoidable. You take Huan back to the 4 profound continents. Go to the new heavenly Xin plane I created. Once she wakes up, her memories will likely be more complete. I want her to see a familiar world, Lin Dong said to Ling Qingzhu, who was preparing to leave. You take care as well, Ling Qingzhu nodded. Then, with a swift movement, she flew across the sky, leaving the battlefield to return to the nearby 4 profound continents. She felt no need to stay and watch the battle, not because she, as a woman, was afraid of combat, but because she had nearly absolute confidence in Lin Dong. As for Yin and the others, they retreated to some mountains at the edge of the continent, where more martial realm experts had gathered. They were preparing to witness the upcoming battle. Similarly, the several million experts in the surrounding world also retreated to a safer distance, knowing that the battle to come would be of heavenly supreme level. Even the shockwaves, if they spread tens of thousands of miles, could crush supreme realm experts. Several minutes later, after everyone had retreated, the entire Chaos Demon Sea became eerily empty. The only ones left were Elder Hua Mu, the ancestor of the myriad seas, and dozens of Earth's supreme experts, facing off alone against martial ancestor Lin Dong. This was now the most epic confrontation in the Wandering Realm, a legendary standoff that would be remembered by countless witnesses, no matter the outcome. Heh, I can't help it. From you, I see the same presence as the old sacred drum. Your momentum is much stronger than that stupid tiger from earlier, Elder Huamu said, looking at Lin Dong not far away with a smile. Lin Dong also smiled, glancing at the ancestor of the myriad seas and the others behind Elder Huamu. He then spoke, Elder Huamu, you're one of the oldest and most powerful experts in the world. Are you planning to face me alone, or will you bring them along? Hearing Lin Dong's words, Elder Huamu's smile instantly disappeared. He directly replied, of course, I'll fight you alone. These fools are not worthy. Just a few months ago, they were scheming to team up against the martial realm, even asking me to intervene. I wiped them all out one by one. With that, Elder Huamu turned to look at the ancestor of the myriad seas and the others behind him and said, do you see this? This is the successor of the sacred drum, Heavenly Sovereign. You all are so clueless, daring to make a move against the successor of the sacred drum? The scolding voice of Elder Huamu echoed in everyone's ears, causing the faces of the myriad seas ancestor and the others to twitch slightly. It was clear that Elder Huamu was treating them like children, even though in his presence, they were hardly even as important as his grandchildren. Still, being reprimanded in front of millions of powerful beings left them all somewhat displeased. However, due to Elder Huamu's formidable strength and age, no one dared to speak out. Lin Dong, standing opposite, couldn't help but feel somewhat speechless at Elder Huamu's behavior. Although he was already aware from the Ice Spirit clan that Elder Huamu had defeated all the major forces and 2 overlords in the Wandering Realm, seeing him act so arrogantly now truly aligned with the description of him as a weirdo by the Ice Spirit Heavenly Supreme. It was almost beyond reason. Since you wish to fight with me, then this has nothing to do with them. Have them all step back, Lin Dong said to Elder Huamu. Of course, Elder Huamu responded. He waved his hand toward the myriad seas ancestor and the others behind him, saying, move back, the farther the better. Upon hearing Elder Huamu's words, the powerful beings from various forces, who had been forced to come here due to threats, couldn't contain their joy. They swiftly ran toward the horizon, vanishing into the distance. The myriad seas ancestor and the others, however, remained calm. They glanced at Lin Dong across from them, and then cupped their hands in a gesture of respect. After all, they owed Lin Dong for being the reason they were able to escape from Elder Huamu's clutches. After offering their respects, the myriad seas ancestor and the 2 demonic saints retreated to the distant sky. Haha, now it's just the 2 of us, martial ancestor Lin Dong. How do you wish to die? After everyone else had withdrawn, Elder Huamu laughed heartily at Lin Dong. At the same time, a terrifying pressure of heaven and earth erupted from his body, enveloping the surrounding tens of thousands of miles. Under the weight of this immense power, the heavens and earth began to churn violently, with fierce winds howling and towering waves rising up from the sea below. Elder Huamu showed no intention of holding back in his confrontation with Lin Dong. Moreover, he could sense that Lin Dong's power was at the same level as his own. This felt far more even than his past challenges against the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign, who was also an upper Heavenly Supreme at the time, while Elder Huamu had only just reached the Heavenly Supreme level. Although he had lost interest in cultivating ever since the world-ending war, after losing the sacred drum Heavenly Sovereign as a challenge, Elder Huamu still had confidence in his own strength. Lower Heavenly Supreme Peak? Lin Dong murmured softly as he felt the terrifying pressure emanating from Elder Huamu. In fact, Elder Huamu's strength was slightly greater than that of the Ice Spirit Clan's leader, Lung Feng. Though still not at the peak of Upper Heavenly Supreme, he was very close. As Elder Huamu unleashed his full strength, Lin Dong was fully prepared to engage in battle. However, his actions stunned those watching from the surrounding heavens and earth, for Lin Dong slowly released the control he had over the surrounding spiritual energy.